I think we're live.
Yeah, I think we are live. So, hello everyone. Maybe it would be good for you to confirm that you guys can see us and also the presentation. We can see the chat. Oh, I definitely see someone is seeing us. So, mm, yeah, hello everyone again. So, hello for in today's webinar. We are gonna talk about front-end development trends in 2025. I'd say very interesting topic for many based on the number of viewers. It's gonna be fun. So before we start, maybe a short introduction from me and Andrzej. So I see some familiar faces on the chat, but for the others, my name is Adam Polak. I'm a CTO at the Software House.
And my name is Andrzej Wysoczański. I'm a head of development at the Software House.
So each of us has about 15 years of commercial software development experience. And 10 of those, we work for the software house. So basically, the company that helps others to build wonderful products. And this is quite important topic because I'm quite curious. A lot of you think, okay, why those guys will talk about the trends? So the good part of it is by working with the software house, we are very well exposed on software development, ecosystem, companies. We had a chance to build over 100 different projects for different companies. And so we had a huge chance to talk and discuss software development, processes, trends with multiple different CTOs, tech leaders, CEOs, and also the developers. On top of that, as the company, as the TSH, we also really love to share with the community, as you can see right now. But what we also do are like two very important things. The first one is the something called CTO versus status quo, which is basically a sort of interviews with CTOs from different companies about the current trends. All of those are available on our blog and also our LinkedIn. But the second thing is something that some of you might be aware. Uh, every 2 years, and the last one I think was in 2024, we released something called State of Frontend. So
Yes, exactly. So State of Frontend is a big survey where we are asking people all over the world, the developers, the managers, the CTOs, about how the frontend goes in their companies, in their projects. So last year, the 2024 edition had almost 8,000 answers. So it's a huge survey right now. So we had a lot of data to analyze, and today we can share with you about our thoughts based on this survey also.
exactly, and we assume a lot of questions might raise here. So feel free to use a special Q&A section on your right. I think one of the second from the top button, I think it's a Q&A.
Yeah, with this question mark Q&A.
So feel free to use that. We will try to answer some during the webinar, but at the very end, we will also try to answer as much as possible. So before we start the talking about 2025, I think it's quite important to understand how the 2024 was.
It was wild.
Oh yeah, the year of survival. So
The subtitle is really accurate for this year.
oh yeah, definitely. I'd say my favorite website in 2024 was uh, mm, the one that showed number of layoffs in the companies. That was the very interesting thing when you suddenly see like monthly number growing each month, then a little bit going a little bit down. but this basically, gave us quite nice view on the software development industry in 2024, right?
And when you see a lot of layoffs, you know that the business will talk about money, about efficiency, how to deliver their application for way faster and with less sources that they have, right?
Yeah, I would definitely say that that was one of the most common, most popular topic that we discussed with the CTOs back then. Uh, we also discussed a lot about the AI. Let's remember the 2024. So the first, maybe not the first, but the GPT 3.5, I think, was released in like 2023, something like that. And
Yeah. And
2020,
everyone predicted that it will take the job for developers and we will
yeah.
die. Everyone will die.
Oh yeah, I was quite sure we are gonna lose a job.
Yeah, we even had these predictions that the prompt engineer will be the most uh, valuable person in this IT industry.
Oh yeah, that was my prediction, and obviously
Oops.
I missed. Obviously I missed, but still the AI was a huge part of 2024, especially the more towards the end of a year, the closer to end of the 2024 we were, the higher impact of AI we've seen. Yeah? So all of those things basically had a huge impact on 2025, or rather will have a huge impact on 2025. So efficiency, AI, doing, trying to survive. So one of the topic that we've seen that we started. One of the topic that we started to notice is something called simplicity. Yeah, like trying to make our systems maybe more efficient, our processes more sustainable, lowering the costs. Yeah. And this is the interesting topic from the state of front-end perspective, because the numbers we've seen is that this topic was interesting for about 71, 72% of managers that basically wanted to enhance the efficiency of their teams using different approaches. Yeah? And one of them was, for example, the AI. About 69% of companies wanted to use the AI or planned to use AI to boost the delivery speed without, this is the important part, without increasing team size. So imagine you have still the same team, but instead of delivering uh, mm, 20 different features, you start delivering 30, 40, something like this. Yeah?
So just to boost this work of developers, right? Don't exchange them for this AI, but help them to deliver more efficient with using the modern tech tools like AI.
And the interesting topic here is like there are different approaches how you can deliver more with less, how to use how to improve the efficiency of your team. Yeah, because it's not only about using the AI, it might be also about mm, reducing the complexity of your current systems, or building the systems that are less difficult to maintain. Yeah.
Okay, because if we stop here for a moment and we think about our projects, our applications that are all over the world in every companies, last years, not only the 2024, but the last years showed us that we built a lot of complex solutions. with a huge architecture, and it's not easy to maintain. It's not easy to, adding a new features. And I think this 2024 was also this checkup for this application. Do we really need this complexity in this application? Will this bring us more money to our business? That was a lot of questions, when the CTOs and developers even check their applications.
Yeah, so for example, before 2024, the most of the application we've seen, most of the companies that wanted to, achieve, wanted to build a scalable system, thought that the microservices is the only way. So, we had a huge teams, multiple Scrum teams that handled like some of the services each. Yeah, we had very complex architecture, sometimes even for the early stage startups. Yeah, everyone was like, oh yeah, I need to duplicate the Uber architecture, basically. Yeah, the queues, the messagings, separate responsibilities on the different set of services. Yeah, and then suddenly you had to cut down the cost. You have a smaller team, and you still have to maintain all of those 50 services or 20 services you had. And how to do that? It's like, quite impossible, I'd say, quite hard for suddenly to be able to handle such a scale, or rather such complex architecture, infrastructure, services in with quite a small team. So what we see, what started in 2024, but we see it growing in 2025, is different mindset. Yeah, like reusing some of the tools, building like building the applications from blocks rather than doing the custom code only. Last year was a very interesting year for low code and no code solutions. And I'm not only talking about tools like Bubble. I'm also talking about the tools like Make, like different workflow processing services that could help you to bridge some gap between your application and different systems to make the integrations faster, easier. And this is one of the example, one of the many, like headless CMSs becoming more and more popular, using the tools that can help you to build the admin panels, dashboards, instead of doing full custom. All of those have a huge impact on minimizing the complexity of the final application. Yeah? And this is something that at the end will also help you achieving the sustainable front-end development, reduce the cost, do better resource management, because those are the services that usually you don't have to maintain. Those are maintained by someone else, that by external companies. And what you focus on is only your core logic. Yeah?
Yeah, and in the total balance, when you check the money, building all of these applications by your own, it's really way more expensive than paying some fees to the companies, to the SaaS solutions.
Yeah, so this is the interesting point. Yeah, because basically this simplicity and how the this goal of like delivering more with less is something that we see having like two different sides, and those two are going to be, in our opinion, the main trends of the 2025. So the first thing, some technical problems. So,
I just want you to ask it like, oh, what slide do you show it? What slide do you show it?
no
Yeah,
worries.
working,
So
yeah.
there are like two future predictions that we are quite sure will take a huge role in 2025. So basically, in order to deliver more with less, the teams will have to take much broader responsibility for the system. Yeah, not only doing like the things that they were originally hired for. For example, back then we had a backend developer doing PHP. He was only responsible for backend development in PHP. However, the situation was quite different. Yeah, back then we had a huge teams, multiple different Scrum teams that each of the members could have a specific role. What we see growing and what we see getting popular out of the discussion with other CTOs and also by like seeing our customers is for the developers to also doing something else. Yeah, like not only what they were originally hired for, but for example doing the accessibility, performance checks, doing the testing, QA, like those sort of things. And the other trend that we definitely see is an even bigger role of using or building a simpler systems. Yeah? Instead of doing the complex microservices architecture, we will start using more ready-to-go blocks. Yeah, like basically building the application from some ready-to-go components, joining them together, doing the integration. And oh yeah, Łukasz, I see exactly. We are going back 20 years, back to the roots.
Exactly.
But yeah, definitely this is something that might be that will happen. This is something that we see in 2025 to be quite important point. Together with the simpler systems, together with the mindset of reducing costs of development rather than building something that is not required at this point but will be, I don't know, useful in like 10 years from the day zero of like creating your startup. Yeah. But this also leads us to the second point, I'd say, and I see Andrzej is smiling. He already knows what is the topic.
Yeah, this is what about Łukasz just wrote on the chat. It's like get out from your comfort zone and be more efficient. In my opinion, that means, yeah, we're going back 20 years and we need a web developers. Yeah, that's the case.
And this is the fact because when we check the answers, so we had this question in last year State of Frontend survey, and that was like mind blowing for us, to be honest. Yeah, about 63% of the companies wants to employ or do mostly employment of full stack developers. Yeah, and about 96% even now started like pushing their front-end developers to do something more than just coding front-end, but rather doing testing, DevOps, accessibility, performance, backend, basically doing this something we call shift left. Yeah, like instead of like pushing those responsibilities to separate roles, you want to have more versatile people in your team, someone who, back then we had this saying of like ninja developer.
Yeah,
So
but to be clear, we don't need expert in every of this part of this role. We need a front-end developer who are not afraid of doing some DevOps stuff, doing this accessibility, performance, I don't know, touching, building some endpoint on the backend. He doesn't have to be, expert on the backend side, but he shouldn't be afraid of doing something there, right?
So this is I'd say this is a clue. Yeah, basically, there are like different definitions of full stacks we've heard. Yeah, over the last year we had a chance to discuss that with different tech leaders, and for some, full stack is mostly about backends doing front end or front end doing backend. But the actual scope, the actual role is, or rather the trend is much broader. Yeah, it's not only about you doing the backend or you doing a front end. It's also about you understanding how to deploy that application, how to help your team to actually unblock when we don't have a specific skill set, or we need to push something even faster than we usually do. Yeah, so basically it might mean instead of doing front-end coding, you will start doing end-to-end testing, using Playwright, using Cypress, using Puppeteer, any tool that might be important in given time. Yeah. If we need to deploy some system build, new environment, and we don't have anyone at this point available who can handle that, you will take the responsibility to do the DevOps work. However, it doesn't mean that you need to become the expert in that role. Obviously, it's impossible to be the expert in every possible area of software development. Come on. But at the same time, the general expectation we see from the software developers is for them to not be afraid of going outside the comfort zone. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, it's not only the responsible of a developer, it's also responsible of a, I don't know, project about from product, from company, to give a possibility to teach these developers how to use these additional skills, how to, support the project in different layers of the project. So it's a more complex solution, but of course, it's really, really good if developer can learn anything, right? Anything else from his specialty.
So I see some discussion on the on the chat. That's why I stopped for a moment. But I'm happy to see that you guys are like pushing that. Yeah, it was always like that, or rather, we thought it's like that. Sadly, it wasn't.
Yeah, and I will say even more seniority and more experience you have. You remember the last, 10 years and how it was back then you know that, okay, it is again the same stuff, but there are a lot of, I don't know how to say it, fresh developers who just started being developer, and they are focusing on very narrow specialization. And that was the problem for the last couple of years, that front-end developers, also back-end developers, were focusing on a narrow specialization, and they didn't want to do anything on the other side, right?
Yeah, it's like it was quite common to hear from someone even, or rather see the role description called like React developer,
Yeah.
Nest.js developer. It's a very narrow. It's actually like Symfony developer. It's like reducing your responsibilities to coding in a single framework. Nothing more except that. This is my responsibility. What we see now is basically we are going back to like square zero. Yeah, so back to the roots, and finally we could say, like, full stack developers, software engineers, just like that, will become a trend. And this is actually something we see as one of the future predictions here. Like basically, out of the I think we are currently doing a few recruitments to different projects, like about 10, and most of them are actually about people who have a mindset of the full stack. It doesn't mean that those people have to be full stack, but those people needs to be ready to jump into or expand their skill set depending on the project need. Yeah, for example, we had a project related to PHP where at the same time we know that some of the Golang work will be required. What we need is not the Golang experts. We need the people who will be okay with like switching to Golang in that particular project while doing also PHP work. Yeah? But this is only the one of the trends. The second one is basically what we mentioned a little bit earlier. So all of the front-end roles, and I say it hits, sorry to say, Andrzej, but I think it hits the front-end quite much. We'll also need to go towards the DevOps, testing, accessibility areas. Yeah, like the front-end skills will have to expand towards that.
Yeah, also performance. We need to think about a lot of things, not only doing the code for the application and somebody else will do the rest. About the testing, developers should be responsible for the job they do, right? It's not like I do the task and somebody will test it and somebody will deploy it. You should be able to do task from the start to the end. So you should be able to test it also and deploy it to the environment.
So, I'm a big fan of this saying, like this mindset of you build it, you deploy it, you maintain it, you own it. Yeah? So like, all of the 4 stages of taking responsibility of the application. Yeah? It's not only about you coding it and pushing to Git. It's also about taking care of it later on and being able to help at any stage. Yeah? And this means that you fully need to understand how your application works. And it's not only about this given part, it's also about the broader scope, right? But this obviously is something that will might be quite hard or quite a hit for the developers. But I would say there are tools that started growing last year. And I'd say by the end of last year and right now, they became quite advanced. And obviously what I'm talking about is AI-driven performance, or rather all of the tools that we can use or play with to to help us with going outside the comfort zone. Yeah? So there are interesting metrics out of the state of frontend that basically, even now, about 43% of the companies, and those are the numbers, just so all of you are aware, those are the numbers from like mid 2024. Yeah. This is when we got the data from state of the frontend. This is when we collected that. So about 43% of the companies already use some sort of AI to improve front-end development. And it's not about using the I'd say the chat assistant on your website. It's about the actual front-end development, right? And on top of that, about 69% of companies plan to use the AI to improve the software development processes in in near future. It's not about like in a year or two. It's like in a month. So this is the very interesting change, I'd say, because I remember when in 2024 when everything started, it's like those tools were quite hated by many. Like they were not doing a good work, like a lot of mistakes. It was hard to handle. But nowadays we see some change in the approach of the people. I would even say, like the tools like Copilot, like Cursor, they sort of becoming a new standard for the like software development environment.
Yeah, it's the best way that AI can grow for developers, right? To be an assistant, to do a lot of work together with a developer, to try to help building this boring code sometime. And another thing is like making some code reviews. And you have this buddy that you can talk about the solutions that you want to do in your application. And I know that it's not always the perfect way, but you always get some base of a component base of a part of application that can work on it, right? So it's really speed up a development process for our developers, and I think it's going in a really good direction right now.
Yeah, I'd say definitely. Yeah, so I remember those tools like Tab9. I remember how Copilot started. It was mostly about suggestions and
Yeah,
code completion. That was all it was like able to do. After that, they introduced the chat, which at start it was quite nice, but it still wasn't there. And then we had Cursor released. Then we had the competition for the Copilot, and really interesting things started to happen, like GitHub Copilot edits, which basically allows you to write down in like what you expect, what the final result you expect, add the files that should be connected, and basically tell, okay, so based on this file, I want you to update this, and that in this manner, do that. Yeah. And I was impressed by the results. Obviously, it's not something that is able to handle like really complex stuff. It's meant for the tools like building simple crude API. It's nice for some updates across the whole application. Yeah, this sort of a work.
yeah,
But
but still, you save a lot of time with doing this repetition task, right?
exactly, yeah. So really, I'm looking forward towards like how those tools will impact our development processes in the future, because there is a lot of expectation, there is a lot of uh, um, ideas, or even the how currently the developers tend to use those tools for software development efficiency. Yeah, I'm not sure if you checked that, but currently about 62% use AI only for code assistance. About 53% of developers want to use AI for code reviews. This is the interesting case, to be honest, because from my personal experience, those tools are not yet there to do the actual code review, because it's nice for like coding part to check the quality, to check the standards and so on. But when it comes to domain business knowledge, not yet.
Yep.
But at the same time, 48% even now use those tools, different AI assistants to generate code. And I'm quite sure those are things related to like crude applications, tests, maybe some components, maybe some CSS styles, like those sort of things. The AI is quite good at, even right now. And this is also, this last number, I'd say, is the one that we can expect to grow quite significantly this year and in upcoming future.
Yes, GitHub, it's not stopping. It's going like a train with these AI solutions. Yeah.
I'd say not only GitHub, because let's be honest, the current ecosystem, the current world, GitHub and so Copilot and the Cursor together probably have more than 50% of the market.
Yeah.
And out of those, depending on who you ask, the best one will be different. Yeah, for some it's the Copilot, for some it's Cursor. We had a chance to work with both in different projects, and it's like interesting possibility to see the differences, how they operate, what they allow, what is possible with them. But the interesting point here, you cannot, it's not like, you will just start using them and you are like immediately efficient in that. You need to understand, you need to learn. And
Yeah.
so if the company, if this is to become a trend or become really efficient in your software development, you need to perform, you need to do some sort of a training to teach the developers, teach your teams how to efficiently use those tools, and maybe even show them some possibilities when it comes to what can you achieve, what are, let's say, the common use cases that you might achieve with those sort of applications, right? But definitely the AI is something that, or rather using more of those tools, the AI assistant tools, will be a huge trend, would be a huge thing in this year. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is something that impacts all of the previous trends. So basically, in order to be able to build to go outside the comfort zone, to do something else efficiently, the AI might be a huge thing here. Yeah, as long as we are not talking about some complex things. I'm not talking about front-end developer deploying and managing Kubernetes cluster.
Yeah, but if you have your application and you need to, I don't know, add another endpoint on the backend side, you can really use this some AI tool to help you get the basic information how to do it, or even generate part of the code. But of course, like Miha wrote here on the chat, like AI can provide you some solutions, but it's not like this solution is 100% accurate
Yeah.
all the time. You need to know how to build something, and this AI can be your assistant, can help you, can do some basic work for you, but I won't trust this AI in 100% that it will do everything for you. But if you treat it like an assistant, and helping to generate something, you're checking it, modify, you will save a lot of time with that.
So the way I usually use the like Copilot or Cursor is basically when I'm stuck. This is the tool that will help me to get unblocked. Yeah, like to move a little bit forward. The thing is, because I'm still like a software engineer, because all of us have some tech experience, it's easier for us to understand if this suggestion is something that is good, or at least it looks good, or it's not. And this is one of the difficulties currently, I'd say, because obviously what AI propose, what it recommends, it is a hit and miss. So you need to always verify if, okay, is this the thing I wanted or no? Yeah, is it something that will work right away or not? Yeah. The good part, both of the tools, Cursor, Copilot, they provide the very good IDE integration. Basically, you can do the things sort of like in case of a Git, that you can accept or decline some of the changes. Yeah. But definitely, long term, those tools will improve. And so this will also have the impact. More and more companies will like to invest those few dollars monthly just to get 10%, 5%, 15% higher uh, mm, efficiency, performance, without adding yet another person to the team. Yeah? Because basically this is how it works. Yeah? So those are like the six most, I'd say, six trends that we see that are the most important ones. But we also see one huge area that will have an impact starting from 2025, even bigger than we initially thought. Yeah. So especially
And
on the
it
front end.
will, if you want it or not. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely it will, because there are some reasons for that. So what we've seen in the again in state of frontend is a huge race of the importance of accessibility. Yeah. So how we actually plan to build the application, how to make it more accessible for everyone. Yeah? And this is from one side it's important because we want the website, we want the customers to have easier access to the system. But from the other side, we also see it being important because of some legislations being passed in upcoming months or previously in 2024. And this is the sort of, I'd say, surprising part for me, because what we found out is, like, even though we know that there are some bills passed for 2025, especially in European Union, but not only 10%, about 10% of the companies we interviewed were already prepared for those. And most of the executives, like CTOs, CEOs, tech leaders, didn't even know that there are some accessibility laws that will hit all companies in the given regions. Yeah.
Yeah. There, I didn't see anywhere any campaign from European Union or some other parts of the world. Like, yeah, you have to make your application more accessible, but it is it is going on, right? We need to build this application to be more accessible for people with disabilities,
So,
and the next year, this year is a there is a date in European Union, and we will talk about it in a minute. But we need to think about from the developer point of view and from the project's point of view that we will have to handle this and build our application uh, to meet the requirements of new law.
Yeah. So basically, for those who weren't aware of that, a lot of countries, starting from like European Union, US, UK, but we also seen that in South Korea, in Saudi Arabia, there are some legislation being passed about that your website need to provide specific level of accessibility compliance. Yeah, for example, in case of the European Union, it's about level AA of compliance, which is like a middle one. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is one above. It means that the uh, specific requirements regarding how the application is designed have to be checked. The same thing is about US. The same thing is about the UK. In case of the Saudi Arabia, it's a little bit different. It's part of the digital. Sorry, I forgot the digital transformation process. Yeah, to basically make the all of the websites, all of the companies digital friendly, and this is a thing that will impact especially frontend, obviously. Yeah, but this also means that the developers, the front-end developers, will need to focus much more or get more skills in this particular area. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember about everything when do the code. And when they need to test this also, they should check by their own, is this meeting the regulations of accessibility? Yeah.
I actually love what Darius wrote right now, that the accessibility is not only about the design system. I know that we had a slide before that your accessibility should be part of your design system and so on. I totally agree. It's much more than that. It's not only about having it in the design system. It's also about understanding. It's also about like having the whole company thinking about it all the time. Yeah, no
Yeah.
matter if it's about the development, no matter if it's about the like some sort of a processes. Everything should be accessible. Yeah, and design.
Yes.
So, just to summarize, yeah. So, all of those things, all of those trends, this is something that we at TSH already try to be a part of and try to prepare for them from the company point of view, but also to do that for our customers. Yeah. And basically, all of the trends is something that I hope will be useful for you guys. In a few seconds, I'd say, we will go through a question. I see the very heated conversation and discussion on the chat, so I'm very happy from that. Before this webinar, we actually were discussing with Andrzej like if it's gonna be as heated as it is or not, but definitely it is something that makes us happy. For those who like to learn more about how the front end, modern front end development could look like, we can also, advise to go on our website, check it, and see what is possible. Especially if you need some help in those areas, we are always available to consult. So I think now we still have some time, about 10 minutes. So it's something interesting for us to go through the questions. So maybe let's start from the Q&A.
Yeah, on the Q&A, we have two questions. And guys, on the chat, I know it's chatting is really nice here today. But if you have any special questions, just try to ask them also on this Q&A tab. It will be easier for us to answer them.
Exactly. So
Okay,
I see the first question from Michał, like if we see any impact of AI in our legacy projects and how we use AI in those. So I can give you one interesting example of how to use Cursor in maintaining legacy applications, because there are like two different options here. You can use it to rebuild and you can use it to maintain. And the fun fact of the AI tools is basically after you let them to go over your code base, it actually is able to understand to some extent how to perform some of the changes, and also be like some sort of a gatekeeper for you, that if you plan to do something that should be done in a different file, for example, because of the reasoning capabilities and it going through all of the code base. This is the basically the Cursor feature. Then you can get the nice answer that, okay, instead of doing it here, you should go to this part and implement it here, because this is where, based on the context, based on the current code base, it should belong. Yeah. The other example is obviously using the AI to refactor. And in most of the legacy, I would actually say, rather than refactor, use the AI to cover some of the classes with tests before you do the refactor. Yeah, so actually do the reversed test-driven approach that you already have a code and now you write the test, but you don't want that test that code to get broken. So you start, rebuilding, but you still have the something that will work with the previous version of the application. Yeah?
Okay, the next question is, why there is a tendency to go to full stack dev like backend frontend instead of frontend QA? Acquiring part of the QA can be more beneficial than backend. If only there is QA in the company, maybe this is the answer for the question. And from other perspective, there are hybrid frameworks to route part of backend and on the front end. What do you think? Okay, I will answer the first part. Like, it's not like the full stack has to be always like backend front end. We talk about it today. Like this, in our case, we are thinking about full stack, that you can work on any layer of the project. It can be backend, it can be QA, it can be DevOps, even design or other parts of the application. If you have a possibility to work in this part of the application or of the project, and and you are not afraid to touch this layer, it's okay, right? We have to change our mindset. Like, it's not like only coding, it's whole project. So this full stack has to be important for the project and can do anything there.
So I would throw a few cents here. So this trend we've seen, it actually started from front ends doing the QA, end-to-end QA using Playwright and so on, and then it actually evolved even further. Yes, to now to be able to deploy the applications, and then to be able to develop some simple endpoints instead of like calling a backend developer. Because basically what you see at some point is that if you have a small enough scope of work, this is the important part. We are not talking about single person building a huge admin panel, but if you can divide that to some parts that are, let's say, dependent on each other, like in order to build the UI for user management, you need to have the backend for that. Yeah, you need to test it, you need to then like somehow deploy that. And instead of doing that with like 3 different people, basically this adds the overhead to the process, because you at some point you need to wait for the backend, you need to wait for the front end, you need to then synchronize the work, you need to integrate that, then you need to test it. There are some like difficulties, some bugs. It goes back. It could go back to backend. It could go back to front end. Even when I try to describe it, it sounds complex. And now imagine doing the same thing, but with the single person. Yeah, like, okay, I will add the backend, front end, connect it immediately together, test it, write the test. Okay, done. Yeah, it's possible, and it works nice. Yeah, and about the second part of this question about the hybrid frameworks to wrote part of backend on the front end. Actually, this is something that we are actively looking for. Yeah, like the so-called full stack frameworks. I'm not saying those are the good for everything, but I would say there is a level of systems or type of the customers that will benefit from those. It won't be the enterprises, probably. It won't be the high scale systems. I'd say those are good for startups. Those are good for the like back offices systems. Basically, something that you want to have built fast, as fast as possible, and it won't have to handle like a huge traffic and so on and so on. So then all of the hybrid approaches, the full stack frameworks, basically, I'd say those are the good idea.
Okay, we're running out of time, so next question. What's the hope, if any, for CSS developers in the new landscape where companies are moving towards full stack? You're dead. No, I'm just kidding. It's always depend on a company, on a complexity of the project. Maybe there are still some projects where the CSS developers are really need. So we don't know that, but I think if you only know CSS, it's really good time to learn something else also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say definitely. Like this is the time when just knowing the CSS might greatly like impact your future opportunities. And I think this is this is something that we didn't say during the presentation, but basically at some point expanding your skill set gives you much more opportunities than just this simple area you have, and it doesn't have to be the expert, really.
Yeah.
So
Okay, next question from Michał. Do you plan any live meetup about front end in real life, right? In Gliwice? For now, nope. We're not planning anything right now.
for now not, but if you are into AWS, then we will probably have the meetup regarding that, so hope you join us. Going further, does the EAA affects existing application or only the newly created? So this is the interesting question, actually, because it will impact also the existing applications.
Yeah.
It's not only about the newly created. That's the reason why, starting from the last year, it was mentioned but not advertised. But
Yeah.
that's also the reason why there is a deadline, because it's not about the like starting from when all of the application newly created apps have to follow the legislation. It's about the until when your application has to be ready. So
Okay.
that's why I'd say it's quite important to push for that and check if your system is ready, double check the legislation if it affects you, and then push the changes.
Okay. So next question is from Łukasz. How companies will approach the hiring software devs from now on? would they expect devs to be full stack, or would they hire front and back end dev and teach them other skills? I
So
think Łukasz, it's always depends on the company. At the software house, we are not focusing only on hiring full stacks, for example, but we are checking if the people who are in a recruitment process, they're not afraid to touch other, you know,
exactly.
other parts of the application. Like, so you don't
Yeah.
have to know the backend if you are want to be a front end in our company, but you cannot be afraid of touching this backend stuff.
Yeah. So for example, when we recruit the Node.js developer, we don't have to check the technical aspect of if you know how to do front end and opposite also. But at the same time, we do ask about your experience with the front end, with like the clouds, AWS, if you have ever deployed something on your own, this sort of a things. Yeah.
Yeah, and we see this trend even on our client side. Like if they ask us for some, additional developers to the project, they always ask, are they afraid of doing something else than their specialization? Yeah, they not often telling that they need full stacks, but will they do some other task if they don't have a work on their specialization, right?
So the last question is from Oscar. Have you noticed an increased number of errors, bugs in the code generated with AI, like unauthorized endpoints, etc.? So I'd say we didn't, because we still have the same testing process, which means that even if the code was generated by AI or with AI, it still has to follow the testing process we had. And so mm, in in most of the cases, it will be either caught in worst case, I would say, it will be caught by the tester or during the testing process, because depending on the project, for example, the testing process might be the other developer running your code, running your application and performing the test, but it could also be, some assigned QA to perform the same. Yeah, and basically what the most of those cases where the let's say we have some unauthorized accesses and so on will be caught during the code review. We still do the code review by the developers. We are like actively looking for the good tool that would help us automate this process also. But for now, we are not gonna change this part, obviously. But I'd say closer toward the end of the year, it might change. Again, the thank you AI.
Okay, I think we have covered all of the questions that we had in this Q&A
Yeah.
section.
So again, thank you all for joining us. The recording from this webinar will be also available. So if you are interested in, reviewing some of the parts, it will be available for everyone. So again, thank you, and have a nice
Nice.
evening.
Nice